Let's end the confusion around these extremely similar French verbs because, French learner, they're likely holding you back from speaking French confidently, and you need to speak to get better at speaking, right? So this video is my complete guide to amener, apporter, emmener, emporter, ramener, rapporter. I'm going to break down my explanation into 5 sections. Context in everyday life, where you can use each verb, whether it's grammatically correct or not. How I recommend you go about mastering them, and I'll simplify as much as I can the grammatical rules around them. Tips for remembering which verb means what. And one thing you should never say that could get you into hot water. There'll also be un petit quiz at the end to test your new knowledge, so make sure you watch all the way through for that. Du coup, si vous êtes prêts et concentrés, allez, c'est parti. Imagine you're in a cafe or restaurant and you're done placing an order. Now there's a 50% chance your waiter will say something like "Je vous apporte ça," and a 50% chance they'll say "Je vous amène ça." You'll notice that in one I used apporter and the other I used amener. The message communicated is the same, and in everyday French you have the choice. There is a grammatical difference, and in fact one is grammatically incorrect, but I'll talk about that in the next section. So when you're invited to a party or a picnic or a dinner or whatever, and you want to know what you should bring or take to the event, you can ask your friends, "Qu'est-ce que tu veux que j'apporte?" "Qu'est-ce que tu veux que j'apporte?" or "Qu'est-ce que tu veux que j'amène?" "Qu'est-ce que tu veux que j'amène?" Both will sound completely normal, and unless your friends are grammar police, they won't react differently to one than the other, especially coming from a foreigner who's trying. When you give someone a ride somewhere, say your colleague whose car's broken down, "Tu l'amènes au bureau," but not "Tu l'apportes au bureau." So, taking someone somewhere, it's amener, but not apporter. Basically, in everyday spoken French, amener is a catch-all verb. It works where grammatically it should and shouldn't. But we say in French, l'usage fait la règle. Basically, everyday use determines what the rule is, and so far it's evolved to this point. In English, we break grammatical rules all the time. Some we notice and some we don't because they're so ingrained. So don't judge, just learn to listen and repeat. When you're taking something away with you, like food that you've ordered, you're going to use emporter. In small restaurants or fast food places, you'll get the question, "C'est pour manger sur place ou à emporter?" And that's how you say to take away in the context of food, à emporter. I highly recommend you burn this one into your brain. If you're leaving the house and you take an umbrella with you, then you're going to say, "J'emporte un parapluie." You're taking it away with you from home. It's the same logic as the takeaway food, right? You can also say, "Je prends un parapluie," but be careful with prendre. It's what we think of when we think of to take, but it can get you into trouble, which I'll explain later on. If you or someone else are taking the kids to Paris for the weekend, "Tu les emmènes à Paris." "Tu les emmènes à Paris." You're taking them away with you and you're staying together. It wouldn't surprise me to hear "Tu les amènes à Paris," "Tu les amènes à Paris" either, because again, amener is a catch-all verb in everyday spoken French. Now imagine you went from your house to the city centre, you've done what you needed to do, and your friend drives you back home. For this, he might say, "Viens, je te ramène." Ramener is just amener for taking someone back to where they started, to complete a round trip. It can also be to go back to a place you've been before. Imagine your teenager has been in and out of the town all day and he's asked you to take him there yet again for the 3rd time in 3 hours. "Je l'ai ramené en ville 3 fois déjà." As with amener being a catch-all because it's used where apporter should be used grammatically speaking, ramener is the same for rapporter when we're talking about repeat journeys. So don't be surprised to hear "Je te ramène ton sac demain" when it should be rapporter. By the way, remember the grammar rules are coming up shortly. When you take your computer to the shop to get it repaired, "Tu l'y apportes" the first time, and then when you pick it up after the repair, "Tu le remportes avec toi" with the verb remporter. You take it back with you. I think you can also say "Tu le reprends avec toi," like you can use prendre instead of emporter. Tu le ramènes avec toi might be grammatically incorrect, but it's used all the time in place of rapporter and remporter. Word reference doesn't even bother to say that it's a mistake, so that tells you something. Our final example context of everyday life is to bring something back to where it came from, such as if you pick up some paperwork from the town hall or la mairie, you fill it out at home and then you bring it back again. Tu rapportes les papiers à la mairie. So you use rapporter. Alternatively, if you're on holiday and you buy a souvenir like a fridge magnet for a friend, tu lui rapportes un aimant. Tu lui rapportes un aimant. I'm giving you a lot of information in one video. There's no way your memory will retain it all in one viewing. C'est normal, that's how it works. The most effective way to mastery of these verbs is through regular immersion and practice through writing or speaking, preferably both. You see, when you soak your mind in the language consistently, like we do as children, the mind internalizes all the rules so you can use them without thinking of a rule. One fantastic way to be immersed, no matter where you are in the world, is the sponsor of today's video, LingoPie. Whether you're practicing intensive immersion or free-flow immersion, like my students are inside the CFSC to boost their comprehension and grammar, with our immersion challenges, LingoPie allows you to adapt the immersion experience to your goals. It's a video on-demand platform, like the Netflix of language learning, if you will, and it allows you to interact with your French content via clickable subtitles, so you can either look up every word or just one or two, and create flashcards from them for review later. You can either show subtitles in both languages at once with mashup, one at a time, or none at all for the maximum challenge and immersion. I really like that flexibility. Depends what I'm watching, depends how I'm feeling, depends on my goal at the time. Through seeing and hearing amener, apporter, emporter, and the rest in real contexts, you're going to naturally acquire the grammar, saving you tons of time in the future when you're recalling them in speech. LingoPie has hundreds of titles to choose from, and it's great because unlike on Netflix or YouTube, you won't get distracted by that easier to follow English language video that tempts you to click. Everything is in French once it knows that that's the language you're learning. And if you are a Netflix subscriber, you can use their free Chrome extension to add the power of LingoPie to your favorite Netflix titles. The best of both worlds, because I know that immersing in things you don't fully understand is hard, so combining it with something you already enjoy makes it easier to immerse and rack up those hours. Sign up for LingoPie via my special link below and get a free trial and 70% off a lifetime subscription. Thank you to LingoPie for continuing to support the work we do here at French in Plain Sight. Now, let's talk about grammar again. So I've shown you context in which these 7 verbs are used, and you're all set to naturally acquire the grammar by immersion. But now I'm going to tell you what I know about the grammatical logic and the rules behind each verb, so you can refine it when you're ready to plug those gaps. Let's go verb by verb. Apporter. This verb is used for bringing or taking inanimate objects. Not only that, the reason why you'd use apporter over emporter is that the focus is on the destination. In Je t'apporte quelques bouteilles d'eau or J'apporte des chips et du pain à l'apéro, the focus is on where the food and drink will end up rather than where it came from. Emporter. This verb is also used for inanimate objects. In contrast to apporter, emporter puts the emphasis on 2 things: the starting location of the object and the fact that it's going with you. J'emporte un parapluie implicitly communicates that the focus is on taking the umbrella away from where it started and that it's going to stay with you. Likewise with takeaway food, literally taking it from the restaurant, and of course it's going to stay with you. Amener. This one is the living thing equivalent of apporter and also a catch-all for both in everyday language. The difference between apporter and amener is that amener is supposed to be used with people and other living creatures. Again, the focus is on the destination. Je t'amène chez le dentiste. I'm taking you to the dentist. Emmener. This verb is the living thing equivalent of emporter. So it's about the source and not the destination, and implies the person will stay with you. There's of course crossover with amener. There is a destination, it's just not the focus. This is probably the trickiest thing I find about separating these verbs. Il m'emmène pêcher le week-end prochain. He's taking me from here with him fishing next weekend. Rapporter. This is the same as apporter, but specifies that you're bringing something back again to the destination. The R tells us that a repeat action is happening. Think of the example of picking up paperwork from la mairie, filling it out at home and taking it back. Tu les rapportes. Remporter. This is the same as emporter, but specifies that you're taking something away again. Think of the example of taking your computer to get repaired, picking it up and taking it home again afterwards. It also has different meanings unrelated to bringing and taking that I won't give here. Ramener. When you're taking back a person or living creature somewhere they've been before, tu le ramènes, followed by the destination if needed. Ramener. I didn't include this one in the first section because although it exists, I've never heard it in 10 years and I don't believe anyone uses it on a daily basis. Once you get a handle on the logic, you can assume that ramener is used to talk about taking someone away again and staying with them again. I only include this here for completeness. I don't recommend trying to learn it because it's just going to hold you back. When it comes to deciding whether the focus is on the destination or the place of origin, you just have to know in yourself what's more important in that situation. If you're just getting started speaking, don't worry. Just pick amener or apporter or follow my example context from the start and you'll probably be fine for everyday life. Here are 2 quick tips for remembering which verbs refer to things and which verbs refer to people and living creatures. If the verb contains men in the word, then it's for living creatures. Amener, emmener, ramener, romaner. Handy, huh? Tip number 2 is that I don't mind at all recommending that you use amener even if it's for inanimate objects. I like to speak French like the natives do, and I hear amener very often in cafes and restaurants and from friends. You're learning to speak French. Don't let the millions of rules stop you speaking. If just remembering amener and forgetting the rest helps you to speak more, then do it. The people who've watched until now clearly care about having a solid foundation, so you're going to refine it at some point. But l'usage fait la règle. So for me, amener is now correct too. Be pragmatic if your goal is speaking. I'm all for telling you to just speak and make mistakes, but some mistakes are handy to avoid, right? One mistake that you should definitely avoid is saying prendre quelqu'un quelque part. Although it literally translates to take someone somewhere, it's actually sexual. Je te prends dans mon bureau might look like I'm taking you to my office, but it actually means I'm taking you, sexually speaking, in my office. Oh la la. Voilà, voilou, time for le petit quiz to test your skills. Number 1, is j'apporte mon chien chez le veto a grammatically correct way of saying you're taking your dog to the vet? Is il a amené du fromage à l'apéro acceptable in everyday French? Why? Et numéro 3, even though you could hear tu dois ramener mon stylo demain, is it grammatically correct? If not, what should it be instead? So that's my complete guide to the bring and take verbs for those of you who are learning to speak everyday French. Come back to it whenever you need and make sure you are listening to the language every day to naturally internalize the rules over time. Leave your quiz answers in the comments below. I'll reply to as many as I can. Ciao, ciao, French learner. I can't wait to see if there's anything wrong in this video. Those are some difficult verbs to separate sometimes.